Let me now have the honor to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Apoorva Palkar, Director, Center for Innovation, Incubation and Linkages, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. Dr. Apoorva Palkar is a startup specialist in education and a transformational expert. She has spearheaded large-scale international projects with various governments and has been active in policy-making framework and development of research. She has been in leadership position for the last 15 years. She held the position of director for 10 years and later worked in corporate AP Global as a chief operating officer education. Madam has been a part of several apex bodies and policy framing committees such as State Higher Education Council. She worked as a convener task force globalization of higher education as well as advisor to the Minister of Higher Education, Government of Maharashtra on all policy matters till 2018. She has been associated with several international and national boards and bodies and is currently the member of Academic Council and Board of Deans, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. It's a huge pleasure to have such a rich and dynamic personality with us today. We are all awaiting to hear from you, madam. So may I now request you to kindly address the participants? Over to you, Apoorva, madam.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you and we can see the screen share as well.
You can see the screen share? Okay. 1 second, just give me half a minute. Is the slide available? Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. At the outset, let me congratulate Kirti Dharwadkar for having thought of this very important and relevant topic, which is innovation in management practices for sustainable development goals. I think this is a very, very tall order that is being taken up in this particular seminar today, and I believe that they're going to be, I saw some 145 participants. I assume that they're going to be students who are going to be listening to this particular talk that I'm going to be giving today. So let me run you through my presentation today. This presentation that I'm going to be taking today has two components to it. One component is what I call it as the innovative thought process in the university system, in the college system, in the MBA schools, in the business schools. And the second part, I'm trying to cover what is happening in the pandemic and what is it that we should be really prepared for from the business school perspective, and how do we counter that in times to come. So these are the two parts of my presentation.
Ma'am, may I interrupt you? Actually, your voice is breaking in between.
The voice is breaking.
Yeah, there's some network error.
Okay. I'll just try and fix this if possible. Now, can you hear me well?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Now we can.
So, we talk of innovation quite often in business schools, but most of the times, we are encountered by such statements that I want you to find a bold and an innovative way to do something exactly the way I was doing 25 years back. So this is the cracks, and a lot of times we are governed by people around us who just are so inflexible to the change. Because the world is talking about the innovation, the world is talking about bolder initiatives. There are a set of people of my age group who have been tuned to working in a specific structure and a specific environment, and we tend to have everything done in exactly the same way. innovation can never flourish in an environment like this. I am not surprised when I looked at the current course structure of the business management program. I found that beautiful subjects are there. A lot of new initiatives are there. However, when we start talking to people in terms of what really lies inside it, is the real story. And I'm not getting into the positives or negatives of it, but I feel that it's important for us to understand what is it that we really want to drive through what we call it as innovation. This is another problem that most of the business schools tend to feel, that we will have a creative business seminar, and by doing a creative business seminar, I will be able to create a lot of problem solvers. It's just not like pressing the button of a telephone where you can become creative. This is a different state of mind which requires a different tuning from the business school perspective. It is a top to bottom approach, and this approach has to come into the whole business education system. And I'm strongly trying to drive this to the Innovation Center at Savitribai Phule Pune University, where we're trying to spot people who are able to think differently and do things differently, which is what is the whole premise of the center in the university. Now, this is from the industry perspective. The moment I know that something which is very, very new and innovative, uske mein 1 million chhap deta hu. So then it loses the whole sheen of what innovation is all about. I hope you are able to understand the message that I am trying to give you. So, welcome to this world of chaos and rigidity. You're getting into the world of innovation. It is important for you to understand that you're getting into a world which is a cluttered world, which has a lot of rigidity. There is a lot of chaos, and you are going to make noise with your innovative approaches, be it your teaching methodology, be it your learning methods, be it the student who comes out with innovative ideas, be it someone who comes with a startup which is not existing in the market, be it a problem that you're trying to solve for the society where no one has thought of this particular solution. So let me welcome you into this new world. I'm not encouraging people to get into innovation. However, it is important for all of us to understand that it's not an easy ball game at all. So, but at the same time, let me also tell you that it is not so complicated as people feel. It is not a straight line either, which goes from A to B. But it is not so spiral like a Maggie noodle that people will not understand. It is just the mindset change and the culture change that is required to bring in innovation. And probably when we are talking of a topic of something which is going to be sustainable over a period of time, understanding this from the core becomes very, very important and significant. Now, let me try and bring in the concept of innovation, which is known to all of you. So innovation is nothing but something that is new, that has the capability to create the new economic value. So economic value is the crux of innovation for a business graduate. Some time back, while Obama was the president of United States, he made a very bold statement saying that education and innovation will be the currencies of 21st century. And in this, it is important to understand it is just not about an idea, but it is active implementation and execution of the idea which drives the whole power of innovation. And that's where it gets converted into the currency that we are talking about. Now, where is the starting point for all of this? The starting point for all of this is with students, it is with the faculty members, it is with the alumni, it is with the industry, and it also lies with every common person around us. Now, I know we are all in the domain of the business school where we are all trying to develop thinking capabilities. Now, what are these thinking capabilities? is I know there must have been some teachers in the emotional intelligence side who would have spoken about 6 thinking hats. But are we wearing the 6 thinking hats while we are getting into the boat of life? Are we really asking the right kind of questions? Are we asking questions as to what do we do? Do we need to know? Do we have inclusion? Are we getting into the judgmental mode? Are we being creative? Are there emotional expressions to what we do? Are we being optimistic? Are we thinking about thinking? So these are the few hacks that one needs to get into before even getting into the platform of innovation. This is not a rocket science that I'm speaking, and I know business school graduates have gone through it, but I want you to put it into practice. Everything that's learned in theory looks very good and rosy, but it is important to bring it in practice. Now I'm going to the second part, the thinking process, and this second part is the why part. In the why part, this is one question that I want to ask every school graduate. Actually thought of solving any society's problem using our knowledge. We made a mention of the fact that innovations are not a cup of tea only for technical students. This can also come in business schools. If we strongly believe that this can come in the business school, it is important for us to think, what are we doing with our knowledge? Are we effectively using our knowledge to solve somebody's problem? It's also important to understand that the problem that you're trying to solve is that the problem identified by the society. If yes, then you are doing the right thing. If no, you are not doing the right thing. So now what is really required? What is really required is the new order of education. I strongly feel that we need to develop thinking capabilities in students, in faculty members, in the whole ethos and the ecosystem of education. And most importantly, we need to develop self-belief. Unless we are able to develop self-belief, I don't think we will be able to garner anything in the innovation space. Innovation space requires people to have strong confidence and self-belief in their own selves. We need to allow people to think beyond the obvious. I know a lot of times there are students who come out with very stupid, silly questions in the class. And I think these are the people who need to be nurtured to speak up more, think more, and go beyond what is in the given framework and beyond the black box that we are all tuned to think. How are we going to start this? I strongly feel that the starting point is get with an idea, come with an idea, center. So I strongly feel that the school should nurture students to come out with very, very strong, innovative ideas. And this nurturing should happen over a period of 2 semesters that they are in the institute and give them the confidence of how they could scale this up in time. It's important for all of us to understand that is my right. My
Ma'am,
answer is yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Actually, your voice is breaking in between and the PPT is not getting changed. The slide is still the same, the first slide.
Slide is not changing.
Slide is not changing and the voice is also breaking.
Oh my God. Then there is a problem issue. I think I am in the slide share. That's why I've never used Microsoft Teams in my life before. We are all
Uh,
people, so
yeah, now it's changing.
Yeah,
Now it's changing.
we can see the slide. Yeah, youth's ability to think and innovate supported by knowledge of professor. We can see this slide, ma'am.
okay. Now, can you see? You should have told me because it loses the whole sanctity of.
I sent a message there.
Because your thought process was just flowing, so I didn't want to disturb you in between. Even the
That's
voice
okay.
is breaking, so we cannot hear you clearly, very clearly. Like in between, it happens.
Okay, okay. So just interrupt me when you're not able to hear me. Okay, just tell.
Okay.
Okay. So, what really becomes important today is the youth's ability to think and innovate, and this has to be supported by the knowledge of professor. Unless the professors are knowledgeable enough to support this thought process, I don't think we will be able to deliver what we are here for, and even the seminar will be really useless and unsuccessful if we are not able to do that. So, industry and society provider of problems that need solutions, and this is where the solutions have to come from colleges. Colleges have to kind of reach out to the society and industry to seek the problems. In fact, I was quite surprised and shocked last year when I rolled out the I2E competition. And in the innovation to enterprise competition, I asked the colleges to reach out to civil society, reach out to the nearby municipal corporation, reach out to the nearby industry to ask for a problem and give them as the statements in the class for people to solve. And I was surprised that 99.99% came back to me saying that we couldn't identify a problem. We couldn't reach out to the civil society. We couldn't reach out to an industry next door. But this is a challenge that I am facing, and I am living with this problem day in and day out. However, I strongly feel that this is where I came to the rescue of giving the problem statements myself. But I think if we are able to drive this kind of a change where people move out of their cocoons and out of the textbooks, out of the Googles, and start interacting with people, I think there will be a lot of innovation that can get developed over a period of time. Now, I'm going to be coming to the current landscape, and I think this is very important for everyone to understand the current landscape of business and the significance of innovation post COVID-19. So this is absolutely a new area, and we're all exploring and experimenting this for the first time. But I will try and bring some analogy of how such kind of pandemics or such kind of disasters have happened in the past in the world, and how is it that the world has looked up at any of these. I know for sure that we all have witnessed. This is a picture which has been sourced from economics.
You are still in the second slide only, it's not changing.
Oh my God. It's in the second slide. It's not changing.
You are still in youth and ability to think innovative, supported by knowledge professor. That is staying there itself, is not moving.
Still now?
It has changed now. I can analogy how behavior change. I can see that.
No, I'm in landscape of business.
You can also do the full screen, madam. Full screen would help you.
No, we are on full screen here from my end. Wait a minute. Let me.
Now it's come to landscape. Changing trends of society as the impact of pandemic is appearing now.
Okay. This slide, can you see? Economist slide?
No, we can't.
I don't know what's the problem. This Teams is very
slow, ma'am, in changing. So you
can talk it through. The lousiest platform that I've ever come across.
Now you can see a cartoon there. I'm popping down again. Analogy how behavior changes the slide.
I don't know. This is going for a toss if I'm not able to show you because.
Ma'am, you continue talking. I think we're able to hear you. Yeah, this is again the carton which I talked about to be safe. I'm popping down to the shops.
Absolutely, but this is to go in the slideshow. Okay, is this available? Is it? Can you see the economic slide to be safe?
No, we can't see it here. You have to go down, ma'am.
Acha, the moment I go to SlideShare, it doesn't show. If it is not on SlideShare, it shows. Like
You
this.
continue, ma'am. I think you continue talking. That makes sense.
Okay. Now, can you see any slide on the screen? What is the slide that you can see on the screen?
Same one which I talked about. I'm popping down to the shops to the to get supplies, and then you can see all the slides down a smaller. It's not a full screen.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And if I do full screen, can you see it?
no, you can't see. That is why it is. So you continue talking. It makes sense.
Oh, sure. What
Stop
happened?
sharing. Stop sharing.
Stop sharing. It's saying stop sharing for a minute. I can stop sharing for a minute if that helps. Otherwise, I think let people see it this way also. You can at least see something, right?
Yeah, we can see something.
Yeah, let the next slides be there on the left side. That's fine. As long as you can see it, I'm okay with it. We need to, I don't know why, what was the reason. Of course, Sarkari people don't use Zoom, but rest of them tend to use Zoom. So anyway, this was one slide of economist. This is one picture of economist, which I tried to share, and this is typically a picture in any of the mandais. If you see in Pune for the Ganpati festival, you would have seen something like this. You would have seen even when the 60-day breakdown was there, where people were saying that, okay, I'm in isolation. I want to be at home. I don't want to be in contact with anyone, with public. But at the same time, you tend to go out and make a kiosk for a hand sanitizer. And this is typically a US picture, so it talks about the toilet paper. So this is something that we have all witnessed around us. And this is the situation that we are all seeing. And that's what I told you, that I'll try and bring in some analogy. So what is this analogy? Can you see the slide of analogy?
Yes, ma'am.
So analogy is where I'm saying that how behaviors have changed over a period of time. So if I have to look at the historical data, how things have changed. If you remember the World War II, so World War II, where a lot of men died, and this increased the participation of women in work. And if we just, I think 9/11 is something which is very close to everyone's heart, and people have all witnessed this very recently in 2011. There was terrorist attack, and this is another kind of a disaster that the world had to go through. But what is the change that happened with this disaster? It suddenly put us into reshaping of security and transportation. We became very vigilant, and so, on the aspect of screening. Otherwise, prior to that, screening was not something which was an accepted norm for all of us. So collective security became a very, very, very important change due to the 9/11 attacks. If I give an analogy of 2003 SARS that broke out in China, what really changed is that people, the way we are right now, where online shopping, so Alibaba, etc., words became very, very prominent. So this was a societal change that brought about changes in the consumption pattern. We are all business school graduates, therefore I thought that we need to also discuss how is the behavior of the market changing, and what is it that you need to bring a change in your own thought and in your methodology. So I feel that there is a lot of analogy in all the three cases. So do I see them as the changes in the society, and are they going to be permanent in nature? I am not sure whether this is going to be permanent in nature, but I will try and give you certain facts and figures which will help you understand that how things are changing. So one part which all of us have been talking and discussing is the social isolation. So though people, that is the reason why I've always had our Honorable Vice Chancellor also saying that there should not be a social distancing, but it has to be a physical distancing. All said and done, the world is going through what we call it as social isolation. So in this particular slide, where I'm trying to show that loneliness is not the lack of company, loneliness is the lack of purpose. So this is not what we really want to bring into the society. It is essential and important that there has to be social distancing, which is through in the quarantine phase, and the market sees that this is likely to continue for some more time. This is going to be very, very costly proposition across demographics for a lot of businesses. I know a lot of people who are in the real business, whose skin is in the business. Especially, I always like to give this appeal to business school students, because as opposed to that, when I really see the startups whose skin is in the game, every pie matters, for them, this has been a very, very big setback in terms of what is really happening in today's times. So let me tell you the second important thing that is going to change with the pandemic, and which all businesses need to understand, is the aspect of the highly skilled manpower which is likely to work from home. We've already had companies like the TCS who has made an announcement that 75% of the employees will work from home. In fact, yesterday I was reading through the Economic Times, and I found that RPG Group has decided that forever the complete sales staff will be working from home. They will not be required to come to office. This is a major change. It is a huge change that is really happening in the whole business arena, and we're likely to see that the low skilled workers are, or maybe the retail workers, etc., people in the supply chain, distribution, etc., are the ones who are going to be on the floor. The rest of them are likely to work from home. So we need to, though I am cursing a little bit on the technology here, but we need to all understand that this is the new order or future that is going to remain with us for life. Can you see this slide, the race between demand and supply?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is very important, and I feel that this is what we are all facing now. COVID-19 may look like a supply shock to a lot of people. So this is actually disrupting the global supply chain. Quarantine and social distancing across the world is decreasing the labor supply, which we have seen in India as well. Now, if I have to again make a comparison with the previous crisis, so if we look at the previous crisis, which was the great financial crisis that happened in 2007 and 2009, what was lacking? It was not the supplies. What was lacking was the shock was in the financial sector. While in case of the World War, it was that the whole, there was a lot of destruction that happened of large infrastructures. So, which means that the infrastructures had to be recreated. As opposed to that, this pandemic has brought us to a standstill where the global supply chains are greatly impacted. And I know in my next few slides, I'm going to be speaking about how this change is going to be impacted. So, we are now getting into a state of complete uncertainty. So, the uncertainty arises because there is an uncertainty about the progress of disease. We are really not aware whether there's a vaccine that's going to come. So therefore, there's a lot of uncertainty about the economic policies. I know a lot of you would have seen the NDTVs of the world and all the financial papers which have been talking about minus 24% of GDP growth. So this quarter has been a bad quarter for India, and our ability to recoup in next 3 quarters looks very, very difficult. And it is being estimated that it will take at least 2 years for us to revive and come back to the normalcy. It is also stating that a lot of people are losing income, particularly in the industries like the hospitality, manufacturing, etc. Now, what is also happening from the consumer perspective, that the households, what are they trying to do? They are trying to increase their savings, Because there is so much of uncertainty, people are wary of spending. And if you have seen through economists talking, we need to make people get into the spending bag. So that is how our economy is going to change. And I don't know whether people are really geared up to the investment cycle. So there is a lack of liquidity. I don't know if it makes sense to business school graduates or not, but you need to really understand that there is a major lack of liquidity in the problem in the market. Now, if I look at the demand and supply, now what has happened? This is a very simple example that all of us have been facing. In the pandemic, if the product was not available, we said that we can do away with that product. So, which means that the needs for a lot of products are going down. ये नहीं है available, चलो ये नहीं खरीदते. So that goes out of your list of buying. So this is actually impacting the supply and demand. So since the demand is not there, the supply goes down. The supply goes down, the demand goes down, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of a vicious circle that we've got into. So this demand and supply loop is very similar to the financial crisis, though this is all driven by something which we call, which is an unknown fearful disease around us, which is COVID. And I know for sure this has been very, very different from the other disasters that the world has seen. Is for the first time that there is a new economic order that is coming because of the disease around us. Okay, so I'm so sorry about this back forth of the slides. So now there is a race which is going on between the demand and supply. There is a disruption in the global supply chain, and I know for sure that we are all gearing up to this state of uncertainty that we are into. So COVID-19 virus is not just a large shock on the real economic fundamentals. It is a shock on the frictionlessness of the market. It also introduces a new wall between the demand and supply, which I told you it is happening day in and day out. There's a contraction in supply, contraction in demand, leading to contraction in supply, leading to large destruction in economic surplus. So I have shown this with this. This is a study which has been conducted very recently by London School of Economics, where they've been speaking about how things are happening. And this was just a case paper a month back, and this is a reality that all of us are witnessing in terms of the real GDP factors which are being shown to us. Why am I showing all this to you? Is this important for you to understand from the innovation space? Yes, it is important, because we need to understand that employments are shrinking. So this is all generating a very, very different kind of an impact, where we are seeing that, this is impacting the cash flows for smaller businesses. Since it is impacting the cash flows of smaller businesses, the smaller businesses and private businesses account for 60% of total employability today. And therefore, because the implication of the consumption pattern, businesses are getting impacted, and because businesses are getting impacted, the employability in turn definitely is going to be impacted. And now is the time for people to start looking at getting into their own enterprises and their own startups instead of looking for a job. And I think this is a strong message that I want to give to all business school students, that in the economics of pandemic, try not to put your head into your hands after looking at the latest economic figures. This is what is the reality. Let's look at the reality and let us face the reality the way it comes. And I think preparedness for this reality is most significant for most of the business school graduates. In next 2 years, people who are in the first year, or even for people who are in the second year, if you are able to understand what you're going to be facing in times to come and gear up and buckle up for the challenges that are likely to come, I think that will solve a lot of your issues in terms of your own mental health, which is very important. If you are prepared, you will have the right kind of opportunities that will come by your way. Of course, I think I'm already exceeding the time, but I will not get into other areas. But I will also try and tell you that everything is not so
Voice is voice is cutting, madam.
yeah, everything is not so bad. There are certain sectors which are extremely doing well, and food sector is one sector which has a lot of potential. So we see that the share of food and non-alcoholic beverages in this pandemic has been at 26.3%. So I hope people are able to understand that health, food, I know clothing and footwear have taken a big toll, but housing, water, electricity, these are again furnishings, etc. Uh, and communication, though it shows at 2.7%, is likely to be the area where things are going to open up in times to come. There are sectors where changes are going to happen and there are going to be opportunities. So if you look at the trends, I've just given you an example of food industry, where in food industries there are opportunities that are likely to appear in tasty and convenient, nutritious home meals. People are kind of looking at home meals. There will be a lot of demand for easy to prepare meals. There is going to be, people will be wary to non-vegetarian food for the health safety reasons. Health and safety will become the most important priority for people in times to come. People are going to catch up on online buying, which is going to, so people, this business school student, please gear up for online spaces. E-commerce is the future, and we need to really look at how the big data is working. And if you find a look at the last 4 months data and statistics, you will find that groceries and pharmaceutical have increased by 50%, on the online spaces. So there has been a significant sharp-driven shifts in the purchasing patterns for people, and I will just run you through the purchasing patterns of people which have distinctly emerged. And these are 4 areas. One set of people who are deep cut, second who stay calm to carry on, third who are just talking and piling up, and fourth one is like the youth. बस जो भी है उसको spend कर दो, hibernate and spend. So these are the 4 categories which have really emerged into the market after all this. So please try and watch the trends, understand what are the broader social shifts that are happening, scrutinize the high frequency data which is available around you, get prepared for the future. New ideas often emerge or develop in response to extremely needs arising from social crisis. It will be unfair on my part to tell you that Airbnb came into existence when there was a financial crisis. When there was a financial crisis where people found it difficult to go and stay in a hotel, people had to cut down. And this is where these 2 businesses, one is Airbnb, which came into existence, and the second business that boomed around that time was the Uber, that people started looking at. But now again, there is a setback for these 2 businesses. But every pandemic gives generation to new ideas. The new order of thought has to come from business schools, and I think S.B.PATIL and business schools like yours need to bring in that thought within your students. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much for bearing with me on the glitches of the technology. However, I'm happy if there is any time for Q&A. If there is no time, I am happy to answer them online later. Whenever time permits, you can send me an email and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Check the screen share.